welcome to the Kigali Book Club. This is actually our second meeting of this year, and actually our very first webinar sessions. I'll take a moment to introduce the club. So Kigali Book Club, which started last year in December, really centers on, bringing together book readers, rather, people who love to read books. And as you all know, readers are leaders. If you wish to continually develop yourself, then you need to consume knowledge. And much of this knowledge is mostly packed into the form factor, which we call a book, which is in some form of text. We now have the privilege of having audio books, so you can actually listen to books. So Kigali Book Club has been in operations since December 2021. We've hosted our first book club meeting earlier this month. And now we also having another segment of this book club where we'll be having the webinar sessions. The book club essentially will be centering on exploring books, particularly within these genres that we've listed here. So biographies, so just trying to learn from, people who've gone before us. This could be political leaders, business leaders, community leaders, whoever they might be, people who have done, some impact in whichever sphere of life that they are in, and that we could learn a thing or two from them. So we'll look at exploring biographies. We'll also look at learning books on finance. We know we live in what I typically call the economic planet. So for you to be able to master this life, you need to be able to master money. And that's why finance is one of those areas that we'll be centering on. The other one is on personal development. This life that we live in is essentially, an everyday self-improvement endeavor that we are in. And for us to, develop ourselves, it would be good to learn some of the life lessons many have put together and shared in form of books. The others is fiction. It's good to have an imaginary mind. I mean, I guess that's why we all love movies. I think having that sort of sense of make-believe is something that excites us. And for you to be carried through a story, be it fiction or non-fiction, I think is a good way to spend your time and enjoy reading some exciting story. The other one is An African Tales. I think one thing that we've noticed is we've rarely been consuming African content produced by African writers, and I think there's a wealth of information and knowledge that various African writers, be they Kenyan, Nigerian, South African, Rwandan, whoever they are, they have put together great works that I think many of us have been, we've really been oriented to the West, but I think it's high time we looked within to see some of what our own people have done. So in a nutshell, that's Kigali Book Club. Really, the whole ethos of this club is to help members to continually develop themselves, provide a forum where we can also network and develop, relationships, be they, collaborations that we could have either on a professional or personal sphere. This is what this book club is all about. And we also looking to see how we can. I'll take a moment to introduce my co-host, my co-presenter. He's a very good friend of mine, Daniel Mutuku. Daniel is a professional and a personal development coach. He is also a digital marketer. Actually, I would say an online business owner. Something that he's been doing for now, close to what is it, 10 years now. Daniel is quite established in that, and I mean, I think it's one of these areas, mostly because of the age that we are in, the COVID era. A lot of things are now going online, and I think at some point we might call on him to even tell us a little bit more about of how he started his business and what lessons we could learn from him, possibly something that we could all look at probably fashioning whatever professions or expertise that we have to serve this new age that we are in. So Daniel is a great friend of mine. He's quite knowledgeable, and I'm looking forward to him sharing some of his lessons around goal setting, which is the topic of today's event. So I'll go right ahead and share the presentation. He will speak more about himself. I've just done a bit of a sneak peek. So Daniel, welcome very much to the Kigali Book Club. Let me get the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So the title of our presentation today is Making 2020 Your Best Year Ever. So I think I would belabor this. As I said, I already introduced who I am and what I do. I will now open it up for Daniel to take over and take us through the next set of slides. Karibu sana, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate. I'm very glad and honored to be invited to the Kigali Book Club. I'm very excited. Thank you very much, Andrew. Just to introduce myself, yeah, as Andrew has said, my name is Daniel Mutuku. I am a professional and personal development coach. I am the founder of Career Point Solutions, started way back in 2010. Right now, having gathered a lot of insights in terms of careers and how you can also be able to grow your business online. On top of that, I'm a digital marketer, having learned through the business of growing the business online and also having been trained by Google. And on top of that, I'm an author of actually 4 books now, but we'll talk about these 2 first. The first book I published is Facebook for Profit, how you can easily make profit using Facebook. And the second one is the Blueprint for Success. And there we go. If you would want to get any of these copies, I can be able to send you a link. The other book, I will talk about it towards the end. And also that is actually a free book that you can be able to get it right away after this session.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So maybe just to outline a bit about the agenda. Today we are looking to share more around goal setting practice, how you can be able to set actionable goals and basically be able to set yourself for success. I think many people have sort of given up on this idea of making goals, or as they call them, yearly resolutions, because typically people form them at the start of the year, and possibly a few weeks shortly, they are back to their old self. So how can you make goals or resolutions that stick? How can you ensure you're able to follow through to achieve what you set out at the start of the year? So that's basically the agenda of today.
So I think as we start off, we'll look at the whole idea of having your life vision. I think it is very important when you are thinking about what are your goals for this year, to sometimes step back and look at the big picture and ask yourself, what is your vision of life? What would you want to achieve? When all is said and done, what would you say that you are able to accomplish? So having that wider scope of a vision would actually inform you on how you can be able to set out goals that will enable you to move towards achieving that vision. Yeah, it might look sometimes like this is long-term planning. We might not even be sure if we will get there. But as we live at this moment, it's good to have that clear vision of what you want to achieve. What do you define success as in your own way? Because on the other hand, most of the time we are not able to achieve our goals because we set our goals in comparison to others. we actually, if we sit down and ask ourselves, are these really my goals? You'll find like these are goals that have been imposed on you by society, by your family, by the people around you, but you will not be as happy if you achieve them because they have been influenced from the outside. But when you come from the vision point of view, you are clear about what you want to achieve, you're clear on what makes you happy or what success means to you, then you can be able to narrow it down and now break it down and see what will I be able to do this year, 2022, to ensure that I get closer to my vision.
Yes, and as you talk about life vision, probably a better way to even break that down would be to look at what some people term as a wheel of life or life domains. Basically, if you think of your life, it's formed of various sort of buckets. You've got your health, you've got aspects to do with your personal finances, you've got your career or business, you've got your family or social relations, you've got aspects to do with your spiritual dimensions, how you relate with God. You've got aspects with other fun and hobbies that you might have. So as you develop, once you've come up with the broad life vision that you have, you may want now to begin breaking it down. So if you're talking of, for example, about your physical health, so aspects around your life and fitness. So you could be talking about where are you now? So do a baseline study of aspects around with regards to your, possibly your weight, your blood sugar, everything that pertains to your health. And then from there, you can then set out a plan. Are you happy with the weight that you currently have? Do you think, in a sense, either if you look at your BMI, is it putting you at an obese level, or are you at the healthy point where basically it looks at your weight and your height, and it can then be able to determine those elements. I think we have a doctor here, and I think at some point we might even engage him to tell us more around aspects of health. I think these are pertinent issues, particularly now, even in this time that we live in of COVID. We've heard that many of the people that have had to succumb to it had comorbidities or other underlying health issues. So it will be important to look at your health, your personal finances. What's your goal this year? It could be what kind of investments you want to make, what's the kind of savings that you want to have by the end of the year, and what kind of actions are you going to put in place towards that. It could mean, putting in a savings plan. It could mean, adding in an extra income stream into your own life. What aspects around your family, if you're married, how many times do you want to have, could be date nights with your wife, could be times with your children, could also be, spending time with also your relatives. You could then expound those to other social relations, your friends, your business partners. We know that the life that we have is based on the associations that we have. If you have bad company, it will, in one sense, affect the person who you become. So those kind of things. Career, where do you see yourself? Do you want to progress, get a promotion, earn some new skills that will probably put you at a certain level? All this. So as you look at your own life vision, begin to break it down within these categories or life domains, and then set out a goal for each of those domains, which will then accumulate to that larger vision that you now have.
And the other aspect of being able to really fuel your drive to be able to achieve your goals would be to understand the why power. Most of the time, we approach goals from the aspect of willpower. And unfortunately, willpower fades as the day goes by. Yeah, every time maybe we sleep, we wake up in the morning, our tank of willpower is full. But as the day goes, willpower fades, it fades. And that is why you will find in the morning, chances of you being able to follow up on maybe diet is very high. You will eat that what is not so good tasting, but because you understand it will help with your health, you'll still eat it. But in the evening, when you're tired, when you're beat up, the day has gone haywire, chances of you just deciding, oh, I'll just order in some food or eat those fast food or foods that will not be good for you is very high. It's because in the evening, your willpower is a little bit low. As much as there are different ways that you can still be able to leverage your willpower, it is important for you to think about your why power. Why do you want to achieve this? When you look at that wheel of life in your career, you have a certain goal there. Ask yourself, why do you want to achieve that? In your health, in your relationships, in your finances, I want to be able to save this amount of money. Why do you want to get there? And actually interrogate yourself, dig deep to understand the why. Because once you have the why clearly, it will enable you to persevere through the hard stuff. It is said, once you know the why you're doing what you're doing, even the tough days are easy to go through. So I want to give you an example. Think about two buildings, very tall buildings, and one is on fire and the other one is safe. On one side, let's just say that the two buildings, they are not yet on fire. Your plank wood is placed between the two buildings, maybe 20th floor, and you're told, walk through that wood and go to the other building, and I'll pay you maybe $1. In Kenyan money, that would be around 100 shillings. But just think about $1. How many of you would walk on the 20th floor across a piece of wood to move from building A to building B? Anyone who would be willing? Maybe I would ask you to do in the chat. Yeah, either say yes or no. I am giving you $1 to cross over between two buildings about 20 floors up, and it's just a piece of wood to go from one side to the other. Will you take my offer, $1? So if I would want to see in the chat, probably just to engage, I can see Andrew saying no, he wouldn't take $1. Ben would go for it. Maybe two more people. I want to see your response. Yeah, just to engage you. Okay, KK say nope. And who else here? Okay, Morris says no. Generally, that's not an offer for you to take walking between on a piece of wood to go from one building to another. But let me change a little bit the scenario and tell you that one of the building is burning and you're on the one that is not burning. But unfortunately, your child is on the building that is burning. And the only option that you can be able to save your child is by walking on that piece of wood, which is, you're being told it is safe to move from building A to building B. How many of you would walk on that piece of wood to go and save the child who is in the building which is burning? So let me see, yes or no. Would you cross over the building at 20th floor to go and save your child? The building is burning on the other side. Let me see the chat. Yeah, I just want to engage you. I want to see, is it a yes or is it a no? Okay, I can see Adoyo says yes, I will do that. Ben, Kiza. Now, what made the difference? I can see KK saying yes very quickly. He will do it very quickly. Ayan also saying yes. What makes the difference? And remember, the second time I did not even offer you any money. The thing is, the why is much bigger. The reason why you are crossing through that piece of wood, the why is much bigger. It's your child. They are more worth. The 100, the $1, you can be able to get it anywhere, anytime. You can do any other piece of business. So think about that when it comes to your goals. Yeah? Understand the why you are doing it. And as I said earlier, if you find that this is because of social pressure, this is because of the society has stated this to be a success, then you might sit back and say, no, this is not the goal that I want to go for. So being able to understand your why and digging deep into your why, it is said, once you know your why, even the hard days become easy to go through.
Yes, and the other thing that we may need to consider is the being paradigm. I think this is probably one of the most important lessons you learn around goal setting. Now, when you think of yourself, when you set out a goal at the start of the year and say, I want to be, running 10 km every week. I want to be eating healthy. I'll change my diet, I'll adopt all manner of habits, which typically tend to die down after a while. Because in a sense, what is happening is you're not yet that person. If you think of the people that are probably very diligent with their health, they go to the gym every day, they run, quite periodically, maybe in a week. They identify themselves as that person. So it begins with the identity that you have. Now, when you think of identity, our identity is in many ways built around the beliefs or attitudes that we've developed that then determine the behaviors that we adopt or the actions that we take. If we are fearful or doubtful of who we are, if we don't have a strong sense of self-belief, in many ways, we will not be either action-oriented or enthusiastic in following through the things that we set out to do. And that begins from, maybe how your upbringing was, or it could be the environment that you live in. It could be an environment where you're fearful of what you say or do, where, you don't have the self-confidence or the high self-esteem. So try and determine what are some of the beliefs that are driving the actions that you take. These are what some people call limiting beliefs. I think in many of us, mostly because of the upbringing that we are taught, is there's sort of a sense of fear that is built in. And it could be, something that starts out from, schooling, where you're told, there's only one single answer. If you happen to either question your teacher, it meant you get some whipping. And that can develop into your adulthood, and then it can affect the person that you are. So one way to begin tackling this and sort of changing your identity to help you be more effective in following through on your actions is to, develop a sense of self-awareness. And mostly you can do this through aspects of, journaling and some deep meditation to begin to understand what are some of the things that influence the person that you are. And then from there, you can begin making changes, particularly with your associations. As we've mentioned, around the companies that we have in many ways determine the people or the persons that we become. So become very intentional with the friendships that you make, seek out mentorship, make sure that your environment is one that is empowering. You could even adopt some sense of affirmations in the morning, to sort of pump you up, give yourself some kind of a pep talk to, develop some kind of a can-do kind of attitude, even this aspect of reading. The reason why we do reading also is a way to develop mentors. You could have a mentor who is not someone that you know directly or someone that you have met, but you follow his works, maybe through the books that he has written, through the programs or courses that he has developed. So mentors should not be confined by just your geographical limitations or the people that you associate with. Develop your own mentors. And books are also great ways to begin shifting the thoughts and beliefs that you've had for a long time. You may need now to realize, I thought this wasn't possible. But if you see someone else who has done it, we have the great example of one of these Kenyan runners who was able to do a full marathon in under 2 hours. It was said it is a very impossible task to be done, but he was able to beat that mindset, that thinking, that belief. And I bet there are many things. I think the human history is all about trying to overcome those hurdles that we set for ourselves. So begin upgrading the beliefs that you have, the old limiting beliefs into a new belief where you have a high sense of esteem. You have a high sense of belief in yourself, and then you're able to proceed much more intentionally and with confidence towards your goals.
Now we come to like the 5 common mistakes that I've seen people doing when it comes to goal setting. And I might give more than 5, but I think this was very important. The first one would be not being able to differentiate between the goal and the actions that need to be taken to achieve that goal. Let me give you an example. If, for example, your goal is to, when it comes to finances as one of it, you say, I want to have save money at the end of this month, or the end of the year, I want to have a certain amount of money as my emergency fund. Or it might be a health goal and say, I want to, at the end of this year, I want to be fit, I want to be about 60 kgs. Now, that is the goal, which is good. And you can only know if you have achieved that goal by the end of the year, maybe stepping on the scale and checking, did I actually get to 65 kgs? However, there's a difference between having the goal and being able to identify actions that you're going to do to achieve the goal. So there's a difference between the goal and the actions. And yeah, if we're looking at the health or being able to be fit or lose weight to 60 kgs, the action would include going to the gym, taking a walk or doing a run, or being involved in the physical activities like hiking, cycling, or whatever it is. So being able to identify what are the things that you're going to do, the actions that you will take to be able to achieve that goal. If your goal is to save a certain amount of money by the end of the year, what are some of the things that you will do during the year so that when it is 31st December, you can actually check your account and say, yes, I have the amount. Maybe you need to create have a budget for your money. Think about extra ways of earning extra income, or find ways of cutting down on expenses. So I used to pay this amount, I will cut it down to this, and then this on top is what I will use to save. Yeah. Because if you just focus on the goal, I want to be fit, I want to save money, I want to be in a relationship, I want to have much deeper, maybe intimacy in my marriage, those are good goals, but you shouldn't always be thinking about that. What are the actions that I'll do to be have more intimacy in my marriage? Is it going out for dates? Is it engaging in social activities together, or having a common activity that we are doing? So that is the goal, number one mistake. Another mistake I've seen is people not setting goals the right way. It's good to have goals. I think that is a start. But again, setting the goals the wrong way would be a setback by itself. So I want to assume that you have heard of the acronym SMART goals, where we talk about specific goals, measurable goals, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, which is a great framework to be able to set a good goal. But I think what is the bare minimum of a good goal? It should be able to answer two things. The first one is, what do you want to achieve? I want to save, I want to lose weight, I want to be in a more maybe deep relationship. I want to, what do you want to achieve? Let's answer that question. And the second bit, answer the question, by when. Put a time limit to it. Because some of the goals, if you just leave them open-ended, you will keep on procrastinating and postponing, and you'll never achieve. So I want to save this amount of money by December 31st. I want to be I want to achieve a certain level in my career by December or by November. It doesn't necessarily need to be by the end of the year. So setting the goal the right way would really set you up for success. At least answer those two questions. What do you want to achieve, and by when? The other mistake I have seen is not setting yourself up, or not putting yourself in a situation where someone else will keep you accountable. Accountability is one of the greatest way of ensuring that you achieve your goals. We have a lot of good intentions by ourselves, but we know when the tough gets going, and we can be able to find excuses to give ourselves, after all, who is judging? These are my goals. But if you're able to find an accountability partner who will always check up on you and to ensure that you achieve your goal, you will always find that you will achieve more. Something maybe you might not know, Andrew is one of my accountability buddies. We started keeping each other accountable back in was it 2017 or 18 back there. And we have grown this relationship whereby I know what he wants to achieve this year, and I have the power somewhere around along the way to ask him, hey, you said you'll achieve this. How far are you? And I'm sure that pushes him. And the same to me, the fact that I know someone will ask me, you said you will do this. Did you do it? Then accountability plays a big part. That is mistake number 3. Number 4, I have seen people looking for the big goals and not really breaking it down to daily actionable steps that they can do. It is said the small hinges turn big doors. It is the small actions, the small behaviors, seemingly insignificant, that you are able to do consistently over time that will give you the big results. Don't always think about the big stuff that you want. Yeah, it's good to think big, but also think about how can I break it down to small actions that I can do, or even on a daily basis. If you can be able to break it down to steps that you can do almost every day, the better it will be. And finally, as number 5, one other mistake I've seen is not tracking your progress. 1 year is very long to think that you will have perfect memory of what you have done to achieve your goals. But if you don't track, at the end of the year, you'll just be thinking and have a vague idea of some of the things that you did, and you will not be sure, did I get closer to my goal? Was I going back, or where am I at? It's always important to track your progress. It is said whatever is measured can be achieved. But if it is not measured, if you're not able to track, yes, I want to lose weight. So what am I doing? How many kilometers am I running? How many hours am I spending in the gym? I want to grow in my career. I want to acquire certain skills, certain skill. What course am I signed up for? Is there a seminar? Is there a webinar? Is there something that I'm engaging to be able to improve in that specific skill? Always track the actions that you're doing. And just to borrow from Grant Cardone, one of my mentors, I like his book, The 10X Rule. He gives like 4 mistakes, but now these are generally very general. And I think I'll just say, number 1, he talks about people are not able to achieve their goals because they set them too low. They are not big enough to motivate them to take the action. Number 2, people don't achieve the goals because they underestimate the amount of time and energy and resources they need to put in to achieve the goals. You know, it's good, yes, to say, I want to be in a certain level in my career. I want to be in my, maybe live in my own house. I don't want to pay rent anymore. It's good to think about that. But it's also important for you to actually consider how much time and effort and energy that you need to put in to make that dream come true. Another thing why the people don't make to their goals is because they focus too much of their attention on competition and not too much energy in dominating the industry. And finally, he says people don't get to their goals because they also underestimate the amount of adversity that you will have to go through to be able to achieve your goals. So I think that is also important for you to think through and say, notice that it's not going to be a smooth ride. There's a lot of adversity that you will need to go through, but you have the stamina to stick in and actually go for your goals.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I think you've actually tackled a bit of what I would call the strategies that I was going to share with regards with how we will go about setting out goals. And I'll just make a few mentions just to enhance what you've said. I know we typically use that approach called the SMART approach, and I think it's still very useful. And typically the SMART approach says you should have your goals, let them be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. But a gentleman called Michael Hyatt, who has actually written a very good book titled actually Make This Year the Best Year Ever, which centers around goal setting, expounded on that framework and created what he called the SMARTer approach. And in the SMARTer approach, he filled out the acronym as specific, measurable, actionable, risky, time-keyed or time-bound, exciting, and relevant. So when you think of specific, yes, if you're trying to attain a particular goal, you need to make sure that it's very specific. Even people say, if you're looking to buy a certain car, you need to go into as much as details as what color of car will it be, what's the model, what interior will it be? Will it be all leather, fully loaded? Whatever it might be, go into as much specifics as you can. You need to visualize and see that goal in such a way that it's real to you. And then again, it needs to be very measurable. If you're saying you want to lose weight, it can't just be an arbitrary goal of lose weight. Yes, you're at X level of weight now. What is that target? So is it you're at 70 kgs now, you're looking to lose 5 kgs by the end of the year. So that means you need to have lost 60 kgs. If it is money or whatever savings or investments or revenue targets that you might have, what is that dollar amount that you want to have? What is that figure? So you need to ensure that you quantify that into a way that by the end of the year, you can be able to know. Some things you can even put them in terms of, as Daniel has mentioned, could be the number of hours. So if you're saying you want to be doing more gym work, so it could be every week, it'll be 3 hours of gym. And you need to be, set that and then be tracking that on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. As we've said, most of these goals that we've set will not be achieved in one fall swoop. It will be what we do on a day-to-day basis. They should be actionable. There should be some action tied to those goals. So once you set out a goal and you set out the process or means of which you'll achieve it, or what actions that you'll take, make sure so those actions have been broken down into daily action plan. Then risky. I think many a times, as just Daniel have said, we set our goals very low, and normally that is what ties us down. So we need to dream big and set out riskier goals, goals that really scare us when we think about it. That doesn't mean, you stay in the clouds, imagining this goal. You need to figure out what are the steps that will take you towards that big, hairy, audacious goal that you set. And of course, it has to be timed, exciting, and relevant. Relevant, again, tied to, your life's mission, your life goals. So again, it goes back to the vision that we've set. So everything needs to ensure that it's sort of aligning such that, you're not doing things that are, shooting in all manner of directions, but they all sort of align into that wider vision that you set. So this is another approach that we recommend that you consider when you're setting out your goals. So seek to make more riskier goals. There's another gentleman that I was listening to, and he said one of the lessons he's learned over his life, it's a gentleman in his late 50s now. He said he learned that he should have taken more, been bolder to take more mistakes and more risks in his life. I think much of our lives, are really governed by a fear factor that, prevents us from taking certain actions. So reflect a little bit on that. Of course, all this needs to be fairly calculated risk, not doing something dumb that might cost you much more. But dare to dream and go beyond your comfort zone.
Thank you. And for you to be able to achieve exactly that, I am giving out, this is the third book I did called Conquer the Year Ahead, Make the Next 12 Months Your Best Year Ever. And I am giving you an opportunity to have this book absolutely free. I'm going to put in the link in the chat on how you can be able to get this book. But before I put in the link, just to inform you that inside this book, you will be able to find how some strategies on helping you to really achieve your goal. Number one would be how you can be able to complete your past so that you can plan the future. Sorry, someone's trying to call me. So you can be able to plan your future if you complete your past. Be aware of some of the weaknesses and the strengths that you have and the patterns in your habits, so that you can work with what is working for you and avoid what is not working for you. Number two, you'll also find ways to identify your expectations, especially in the 10 key domains of your life, almost similar to the 10 wheels of the wheel of life. And also it will give you a free goal tracking sheet. And there is already a video there taking you through the step by step on how you can be able to use that guide. So this book I'm giving you out for free. So head over to careerpoint.co.ke/CV, that is free book. Let me just put the link. That's the link for the free book. That is careerpoint-solutions/free book, or a quicker one would be careerpoint.co.ke/free book. It will still take you to that bit. It's not just a book that you read, it is more of a workbook with some spaces which you will need to be able to fill in. And as you fill up those spaces and actually reflect, hopefully following that strategy, you'll be able to achieve your goal. And you can say by December that for sure, that was the best year ever for me.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So the link is on the chat box, so you can all be able to get it from there, and you'll be able to download the book and help you plan out the year ahead. I think this will be a very vital resource, and not just that, it will, as you say, that tracking sheet will be sort of the day-to-day manual, whatever, a companion that you will use to see how you're faring. And mostly if you follow that process, as they say, trust in the process, it will surprise you. It will come next year and you'll find you'll have achieved or even exceeded what you had set in January 2020.